Welcome to Daily Steps from One Extraordinary Marriage, where we outline simple steps that you can take to have the ultimate marriage adventure. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. In today's show, we answer the question, how does one say they want more sex without saying it?
So my first reaction to this question is sometimes you do have to say it. Mm-hmm. Like let's just put that out there that your spouse can't read your mind. So there are times when you're going to have to say, you know what, I want sex, right? Because circumstances can change. You can change. Maybe your signals that you used to give off that you want sex have changed. So don't be afraid from time to time to actually express to your spouse that you would like to have sex with them. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to assume, because this question was asked, that maybe this person has made it clear that they want sex. And they
verbally have made it clear.
Yes. Like they've used the words, I want to have sex with you. And they're in this place where they don't always want to be the person making the first move, the person that's initiating sex. Mm-hmm. And now we've got to dig deeper into what's the dynamic here? What's going on? What's the vision that the two of you have for your sexual intimacy? Right? Because I think a lot of people, and this was us in the early years of our marriage, we had absolutely no vision whatsoever on what our sexual intimacy was going to look like. It was a
guessing game. I would say, for the first 11 years of our marriage, it was honestly a guessing game. Did she want it? Did I want it? Did we both want it? Did we both not want it?
It's one of those things where, Hollywood, the New York Times bestseller list, there are all of these media inputs that say your sex life should look like this. And we're like, that's great. But have we actually had a conversation where you and I, husband and wife, have actually had a conversation about what our sexual intimacy is going to look like for us? What does that mean? And if you're not having that conversation, first of all, I want you to know you're not alone. Most couples in the world have not had that conversation. However, you're listening to Daily Steps, so you're different, which means that you are going to start having that conversation because there's a reason the two of you aren't having sexual intimacy the way that you have in your head. One, it's in your head and it hasn't actually been part of the conversation. But two, there may be things that are keeping the two of you from that vision. And until you start figuring out what it is, it's just going to be on this repeat cycle of, I want it, I'm not getting it. I want it, I'm not getting it. I don't know what to say. I don't always want to be the one to make the first move. Mm-hmm. Right? Has there been a season of rejection in your marriage? I'm telling you, if there's been rejection in your marriage, if your advances aren't being responded to, that's a cause. Right? It may also be that there's been pornography in your marriage. Right? If the sexual advances are not being returned, and pornography has been a factor in your marriage in the past, or maybe is currently, that could definitely impact why you're not getting that response, right? Pornography definitely impacts marriage. Are there resentments? Mm-hmm. Oh, hello. Anger, bitterness, resentment. These are all things. So you've got to move into this place where you start to have the conversations talking about what's going on between the two of us. And it's much easier to start with what's the vision for our sexual intimacy than to be like, hey, you, why aren't you giving me the sex I want? Right? Mm-hmm. If we ask about vision first, and that's what I'm going to encourage each one of you. If this is you, if you could have asked this question, then it's time to sit down with your spouse and say, let's have a conversation about vision, right? All of the big companies, all the little companies, like people that are doing things have a vision on how they're going to get there.
And I would say check out our episode on the One Extraordinary Marriage Show 140, Scheduling Sex. You can go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/scheduling sex. And that's all about the intimacy lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And that's going to help you to see the vision of what your sexual intimacy is going to look like.
Or even listen, I know we did like a
4-part series right here on
Daily Steps, and breaking down the intimacy lifestyle in all of these different ways. But you've got to know what you're working towards in order to get it. Mm-hmm. Right? And when you start to say, okay, what are those component pieces? Like how frequently do we want to have sex? What does initiating look like? Right? What do we want our bedroom to look and feel like? Well, now you and I are having a conversation about this, and it's not just me like hoping and praying that you're going to pick up on some signal that you're clueless about. Like we've got to dig deep, folk. We cannot be those couples that let everything sit at the surface Instead, we need to be those couples that say, you know what? If this isn't working the way that it seems like it should be, it's the whole Houston, we have a problem. And we actually need to talk about that, right? We have to be those people that say, you know what? Let's go for a walk and talk, right? Don't make it awkward by talking about sex in your bedroom, right? That doesn't ever, that gets uncomfortable for everybody. And don't make it awkward by sitting across the table from one another with eyes staring at one another going, we need to talk. Because that also feels awkward and you go on the defensive. Instead, hey, let's go for a walk. Mm-hmm. Hold hands. And just,
or even a drive. I've found that for Elise and I, just that movement, driving shoulder to shoulder. We're on the same team together instead of across from each other and we're adversaries. We're going at each other. Together, we're going to hold hands and we're going to walk together. We're going to drive together. And with that comes a solution, a plan, a vision of what's ahead. When you do that together, you may not have to wonder about or ask about sex anymore, because it's understood from that time forward what you're doing, how you've set up the intimacy lifestyle allows you so you don't have to say it. If this is an area of marriage that needs attention and you are ready for coaching, learn more about coaching with Elisa at oneextraordinarymarriage.com/coaching.